stamps. Hi guys, this is Deb. All right, so I don't know we'll get many people. I might have to wait till I post this. I always forget to tell people that it's in the group because I can't do lives yet on my Facebook page. So hopefully a little bit longer. But what we're going to do is I'm going to be showing you a couple cards, but really the point of this video is to show you 12 different things you can do with your Stampin' Right markers. So Stampin' Up! Is doing a promotion the next 2 months, so January and February, where if you become part of like the Stampin' Up! Community, you can get a starter kit, which includes $125 in product for $99. Shipping is free, but you also get these 2 marker sets, like whatever 2 colors you want. So there's 4 different sets of colors, and you can pick any 2 of those, and you get this free stamp set. So I thought this is a perfect time for me to share with you all the different things you can do with a set of the Stampin' Right markers. So that's what these are. These are the in colors. These are, or not in colors. These were the new core colors that I had purchased like a year ago. So I thought that's what I'm going to use just to show you. So I'm going to show you these 12 different things you can do. And then I'm going to share a couple cards that have some of those techniques on them. So I have which I just realized, I have no stamp sets here, which could be a little bit of a problem. I was going to use black, but that's okay. We're just going to use markers. So we'll see how this goes. All right. So I have this sheet as well. So if you're part of my mailing list, I'm going to be mailing this out probably tomorrow, maybe Monday, probably. And it gives you all the different techniques and then explains a little bit about how to do them. So we're going to just do them starting at the top and kind of working our way down. So the first one is called pointillism, and I think I'm pronouncing it right. So, excuse me, on my screen, it looks like everything is really small. So if things are looking like they're ginormous, you guys will have to tell me. So pointillism is when you make an image with small dots. So somebody that's in another group mentioned this, and I thought it was like a made up Stampin' Up! Word, but it's real. It's like real art. So that's what we're going to do. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you. So I'm going to take one of these little bird's eye view. And because I do not have a ink pad here now, we are going to color. We're going to actually maybe do 2 things at once. So I'm going to show you pointillism, but the first thing I want to do is show you basically how you can put ink to a stamp. So if I don't have an ink pad, so if you're new to stamping, or maybe you have a granddaughter or a child and you're like, I would like them to get into it, you could get them a set of markers and a set of stamps, and they could just do this little technique. So this is a Stampin' Right black marker, and I'm just going to go over it. Now, one of the things I want to make sure you guys know is do not do this with the alcohol or Stampin' Blends markers. So Stampin' Blends, those will actually, they will stay on your stamp. I did that. I was like, oh, what's the difference? I quickly learned. So the difference is those are permanent and they dry extremely quickly. They are wonderful for blending, but you would never color like a stamp like we're doing here. So what you do is you basically take your marker, you color the stamp, and then you're going to like kind of huff over top to make it kind of a little moist. And we're just going to pop that right down on our piece of paper. There we go. And look at that. We got our little bird just using the marker. So it's just a great, again, kind of an easy way to ink up our stamp. So then we're going to take one of our colors and let me make him a little bit of a, let me make him a bluebird. We'll get this opened and get all these markers out. There we go. And we will start with this one. This is Blueberry Bushel. So you know you have 2 points. You got the brush tip and then the fine tip. So you can use either side, but basically, so I'm going to take the brush tip first and maybe start with some bigger dots here. But this is all you're going to do. You're going to go and you're just going to fill in this little bird with a bunch of little dots. And I could use different colors. So if I want to maybe make his wing something different, but this is the technique. You fill in this little bird with a bunch of little dots. So if you have somebody maybe that it's harder for them to color, you might want to have them do this technique. And you could even make your dots kind of around some of the lines here, like the tail. I could make my points closer to that, but you can see, and then I can take a lighter color, blue. I don't know if, and then I'm going to take the small point end, and then I could actually maybe make his wing a different color. But again, you just go through. So I would say if you want to make small dots, definitely use the fine tip side. And sometimes you get more out of your marker. So, but you can just go in, fill in all these little dots, and then he will become a little bluebird. So that is it. I do have one to show you here at the end, but just to give you an idea, that's what pointillism is. And this is, again, I maybe would fill those in a little more. You could be very specific, make big dots in the middle and then sprawl out and make smaller dots closer together. But that is one way to use your Stampin' Write markers. The next way, which I don't really think I even need to show you this, but I will tell you about it, is obviously just writing and journaling. So if you do scrapbooking, if you want to write with envelopes, so you can take this big tip and you can write beautiful, you know, beautiful text letters with it. So you can write that, or you can actually do, so like for a title on a journaling page, or even the outside of an envelope. And then of course with your marker side, you know, you can journal. So you can, it's fine enough to where you can literally handwrite something, or you can make it bigger and do block text, calligraphy type text. I can't do that. But I don't want you to, you know, sometimes we look for all the big things and we forget about the simple. So obviously texting and journaling, those are all things you can do with your Stampin' Write markers. All right, another thing you can do, and I literally had this in here and I think I moved it, you guys. So, okay, stand by. Actually, I can go right behind me, I think, here. Maybe. You know what? This will work. I'm going to take something from our daughter here because this will work. All right. So can you guys see, this is a piece of ribbon. Actually, it's Stampin' Up! Ribbon, but it's older. Oops, sorry. This is the only one I could get to this quickly. So the other thing you can do with your Stampin' Write markers is actually color your ribbon. So that is number 3 on our list. So you can take any one of your colors that you want for your ribbon and take the brush tip end here. And all I'm going to do is I am going to run my marker over my ribbon until I get it the color that I want. Now, one of the things, you can also do this with a Stampin' blend. So let me just get a little bit, oh, I can't get a little closer. But when you rub it, it'll actually then, oops, make your ribbon, oops, wrong side, there we go. Make your ribbon that color. So this is what it looked like before, and then this is what it looked like after. You do it this way too, so you can see. So then you would just let that dry a little bit. But the nice thing is, if you have obviously a solid piece of ribbon, you can make it, and especially if it's white. So again, if you're looking like, oh, well, what would I get if I was a new stamper? I would suggest you get some sort of white or white ribbon, because then you can make it any color that you have an ink color for. And that just makes it so that you have one kind, but you know, gives you a flexibility. So that is one of the things you can do. Now this particular ribbon, I think it has texture on both sides. So I probably would run my marker, again, that brush tip side, and I would rub it on both sides just to make sure, especially if I'm using it for a bow or something like that, I would want to make sure that I get that color. All right, so that is tip number 3. So you can use it to actually color your ribbon. All right, the 4th thing you can do is called flecking or speckling. And what you do is you take the brush tip side, the bigger side of your marker, and your cap. Now, this is going to make your tip of your marker, your fat end, maybe a little bit more worn. But most people use their small tip, but this is great. But just so you know, if you do it every day, it might kind of hurt like the end of the marker. But it does give you a great effect. So what I'm going to do, here's my piece of paper right now, right? It's just plain white. And when I put my marker, I'm just going to take the brush tip and I'm going to put it inside the cap and fleck it and just flick it out. And then what it's going to do is it's going to add color, and it's very fine. So I want to get enough of it to where you can actually see it. I used to tap the marker, but that was on the older markers where you could fill them with ink. This is more of a little bit of a flecking, very fine technique. So I am really hoping that you can see this. I don't know. It's light to me. So let me try a darker color just so you can see. Just in case. Oh, there we go. This is much, much better. Anyhow, you just put it in there and fleck it down. So there you go. I hope you guys can see it. Anyhow, that's another technique. And again, it's very light. Almost reminds something like the little speckles you see on colored eggs. That's what I would compare it to. After you dye them, I think that's what it looks like. So that is technique number 4. So we've gone through pointillism, journaling, of course, ribbon coloring, flecking. Now I want to show you making accent lines. So I am going to start with just another piece of cardstock here. So let me just cut a piece out. And what this allows you to do, so we'll just take kind of 4 by 3, I guess. This will give us a good, and there we go. So for this particular one, we're going to find a couple colors that we like, and I think we'll use maybe a couple shades of blue, and let's go with maybe this lighter yellow. This will be interesting to see what this looks like. All right, so accent lines, and let me just make sure I've got my, yep. Okay, so these are the 3 colors. Now you can do 2 colors, 1 color, it doesn't really matter. But we're gonna start with our darkest color. And what you're gonna do is take the brush tip end again, and you are just going to run it across and actually you're gonna go more left to right, okay? Or the edge of the paper in. And you're just going to draw lines that are, you know, different sizes, spaced apart. And then you're going to grab your next color marker and do the same thing. Only you want these to be different sizes. I gotta get a little better at the sizing there. But basically, I'm just gonna run these lines, and again, I want them to be more this brush strokey, not so a straight line. Okay. Then I'm going to take the yellow, and this is Lemon Lolly. Now this is going to be fairly light, so we'll see how it goes. It might not give me the effect that I want, but we're gonna try it. And I'm just going to fill in the other spots where maybe I didn't get all the way. You know, obviously I didn't get them all the way filled in. And it's interesting because as I do that, I'm noticing that I have some that are turning like green. So now what I do is I always go back with the darkest color I have again, and I'm going to take the fine tip end. And now I'm going to just kind of fill in maybe with where I see there's either white or I'm not, you know, getting enough of a dark color. I might just draw a few lines here, and there we go. So now what I can do, I'm going to trim the end of this, and then I can use this as, now I can use this as like a background or the top of a card. I can put an image right here. And that's something else that I can then use this for. So I've just basically added color to a piece of paper, and I'm sure the camera's not doing it exactly well. But once I do this, then I can take my fine tip glue pen, which is the fine tip glue, and I can run it along each one of these lines, and and then you have to let it dry, and then it creates a nice little shimmer. So so let me see what, so let me show you water to block, the markers on a block and watercoloring. And then I'm going to show you a couple cards with some of these techniques on them. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use this, this piece of paper here to show you this next technique. And I'm going to go ahead and color my little bird here again. And I'll use this black marker. By the way, the Stampin' Right black marker, it's under, I think it's under markers, but it was out of stock for the longest time. So I'm just going to go in and color this bird again. And then I am going to use the watercoloring technique. So we'll just pop him down there. Again, the whole point is to show you guys the different techniques with the markers, not so much, you know, these particular cards. All right, so here we go. So we're going to take a block. I'm going to pick a color for our bird, which I'm going to paint him orange. Okay, so what I'm going to do, oh, and then the other thing I need is a water painter. Now this is an older one, and then these are the new ones. You get a 3-pack now. I think when I bought this one, you got 2. This one you have 3, and you have 3 different brushes. You've got like a really like big brush to do watercoloring. Gonna get that in there. I don't use these enough. And then you've got one that's a little bit more of a point, and then you have a really one that's a little bit more fine. So if you love to watercolor or you've never tried it, this is perfect. This is such a great way to watercolor. And you get all these, you know, you get whatever colors you have in markers. Now, if you had a stamp pad, you can take the stamp pad and just press it in. But if you don't have every color, which I wish I would have known that, you're going to take your marker and you're going to just run your marker across the block. Okay, so I'm just going to run it across the block, and now I have some pretty orange on there. Now I'm going to take my water painter, either one, and I'm just going to squeeze it a little bit, and that's going to give me some water droplets. And there we go. Hopefully you saw that drop down. And I'm just going to mix it up now on my block. And now I have it on my brush tip there. And now I'm just going to go right in, and I can paint my little bird here orange. I'm not a watercolorer. I mean, I do it, and I do enjoy it, I will say. But, you know, there's people who really... I have a video I did, you know, and it didn't look very good, like, on screen when I was doing it. I may have even commented about that. But I went back and pulled one that I had done, like, to practice before I did that video, and it really came out very nicely. Okay, I don't need to do this whole thing, but you guys get the idea, right? I can keep picking up color and putting it on my little bird image here. Now, if I was doing like heavy watercoloring, I would go ahead and, you know, use the Fluid 100 paper, which is the watercolor paper that Stampin' Up! Sells. And just so, if you haven't ever purchased it from them, just so you know what you're getting, watercolor paper is expensive. I had like no idea. If any of you guys are watercolorers, you'll have to comment. But it's, you know, it's certainly not, it's not regular paper. But this is a piece, I think this is just a regular piece of paper. But you guys get the idea. I'm not going to finish him. When it dries, it'll look a lot better. Anyhow, and then you just squeeze this out until you get all of the water off, and then you will, you know, then you can just put the cap back on. So I'm just gonna do this over here on my nice little chamois, and I will take my block, and there we go. I put it on the chamois, and now it's nice and clean and ready to use. So you just want to make it until your brush comes out clean, and that's all you'll do there. So that is your sixth technique, is just watercoloring. So just, and you can, again, any of your Stampin' Write markers, don't use the stamping blends, just run them against there, use your water painter, or, you know, and if you don't have one of these and you have a regular, you know, like paintbrush, you know, y'all have somewhere, or our kids do from school, right? You can grab one of those, put some water on it, rub it on your block, and then, you know, you got watercoloring. Okay, so let me show you a couple cards with those techniques, and then we will, it looks really messy on this desk. I'm just looking, and it's like, wow, you guys, we need to clean up a little bit here so it's not so crazy looking. Okay, let me show you this card, and I'm going to show you hopefully you guys can see this. I feel like it is so close up. Here is the dinosaur where I filled it in with a bunch of little dots. So it is definitely using that pointillism technique. And then if you look at these lines, I hope you guys get the shimmer. There you go. I just took those lines and did the exact same thing I showed you, just different colors. I do like these colors better. This was, I think it is Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, and I think it's Pretty in Pink, I think. Yeah, I think it is. But you can see then I went over it with the oh gracious, the fine tip glue, and let it dry, and it gives it this nice little shimmery shimmery look. So I hope you guys are seeing that. All right. So, and then I also used the Stampin' Ray marker over the greeting, and I went ahead and rubbed that on, and then I got the greeting or the sentiment printed on there. All right. So those were a couple of the techniques that we just went through, and I wanted to point those out. So another one, and then we went over direct coloring on the stamp, which is what we did with the greeting. All right, so another thing you can do is, we're going to take another piece of paper here. You can take colors and just draw them on, or color a piece of your cardstock. So let's just, and I'm just going to take a couple colors I have, and I'm going to use light ones just because of the stamp set that or the punch that I'm using. I have pink here. So I'm just going to grab some colors and make some lines is all I'm doing here. So I'm going to find my brush side, and these all look like pretty little Easter colors. All right, I might have to go in with some darker ones, but this is okay. Again, I think, you know, as long as you guys get the gist here. But you can take a piece of cardstock, color in, you know, just like go back and forth with a bunch of lines, and then you can use a punch to punch that out. So I have this punch that's the label. It's it makes a tab. I love this punch. And you know what's funny? Okay, so a little side note here. Well, first of all, let me do this first. So I didn't quite get all of it colored, but I think you guys, well, you know what? Okay, let me fix it, because I really want you to see. You got to see the magic. See the magic. Not really magic. Just, you know, I don't want you to look and be like, oh, well, that doesn't look very, you know, that doesn't look like anything. So now remember, the thing about Stampin' Rate markers, which is different from Stampin' Blends, is Stampin' Blends are alcohol, which means they blend. You don't get any kind of lines. So I kind of wish I had, I did this earlier on another image, and I had them, but again, I didn't bring them in with me. Okay, this will do. This will do, this will do. I'm gonna punch it this way so you can see half of it, and then the other half you won't see. But what you do then is you put your punch in, and now I can use this. Oops. I got a little thing stuck in there. But now I could take this and let it dry just a little bit more, but then I can stamp on that punched image. So you could do small lines, but if you were to do a whole page of different colors, then you could punch out a whole lot of things. And the point was, this is maybe not the best idea to use. In this case, I just wanted to show you a smaller stamp, or a smaller punch. But if you have punches that are small circles or flowers, you could use those and then accent your project with them. So instead of coloring each little small image, you could color a sheet with different stripes or different colors, and then you could turn around and punch them out. So again, just something you can do with your markers to accent your project. All right. The next thing I wanted to show you is how to accent a kind of a frame, so to speak. So let me move this out of the way, and I'm just going to go over and trim this down. And we'll move this out of the way too. Get ourselves a little bit of room here. So the other thing I could do is I can take my marker and stamp my image, and then I could actually create a frame around this this piece of paper. So let me show you what I mean. So let's start with pink. I can take this and literally kind of go around my whole outside of this box. And again, when I do this, then I'll show you one that I had done earlier. So I'm not trying to be super perfect with it, right? It's kind of more whimsical, I would say. So we'll just kind of color it in there. Okay. So that's good. You know, I don't want it, like I said, I don't want it to be necessarily even all the way around. So there we go. Now what I can do is take a darker color, or, you know, again, any color, and I can kind of just draw some lines, you know, whatever, doesn't have to be exact, nothing like that, and just draw these around the edges to add accents, you know, whatever you want to do. You could draw just a solid line. I'm going to show you another one. And then I could even go and draw a little bit of like a heart or leaves around certain places. But I have to show this to you guys because I love it. I think it is such a small thing you can do, but then I could stamp an image in here. I could stamp a greeting. This is kind of a bigger box, but let me show you one that I did right here. But see that? I went, so this is a piece of Melon Mambo. Then I went around the outside with a marker and I made this grid. And then I took, you can see, I took a ruler and made straight lines in the middle. And then around the edge, I did what I just did here. And I used that flecking technique in here. But this whole card, like the stamps, were all made using this dino set. It's got like little little kisses and then a heart. So, and it has, I love you. So I look at this set and sometimes I think, oh, it's like for kids. And it is, I mean, not kids, but it makes, you know, little kiddos cards. But then I made this one, which is very much something that you could send to anyone. So again, this technique of just being able to make a border, I think is super, super cool. All right. So another thing you can do is the dotted lines, and I'll show it to you. Let me find, actually, let me go ahead and I'm just going to stamp a couple really very small images, because we just don't want to, we want to get to our technique. So this is the little party hat from that set, from the dino set. So I'll just use this one. It's pretty small. And we'll just put that right up here. And then let me take, and grab another image, which we'll grab the little heart, just because it's super small. So we'll do the same thing, just color it, and I'll pop that right there. Okay. So now what I can do is take, I am going to take the small brush end, and we'll use this blue. I mean, I'm not going to use this. So I'm going to use a blue color just so you can see it. But one of the things I always did when I was in a lot of scrapbooking that I did, I would actually connect images across pages to kind of draw people to the various boxes. So I might have, you know, 2 of these, and then I would dot lines between the different boxes on my scrapbooking pages. But for this right here, for a card, you can do the same thing. And you just can create dashes. You can do a solid line, but you can go in different patterns, and that's it. It's just like a long dotted line between, you know, 2 images. That's it. And I think you'll notice I did that in this card if you can see the light pink connecting the hearts down to the I love you. And I'll tell you what I think it does is this card had a lot of white space right here because I did these pretty cool looking, you know, score lines just to give it, again, a little more dimension. So there was a lot of just white space here. And I think those dotted lines really connected those images and just filled up some of that white space. So again, super easy technique that you can do with your markers. Just super easy. All right. So we have 3 more. That was number 9. So number 8 was the border. Number 10 is coloring an image, which I've already shown you. That's like what we did here. And you just take your marker and you go over it and then you huff and puff on it. And then you, you fill it in. Now, the other one is, I'm going to stamp this. Oops. Number 10 is image coloring. Like actually, so I've got the one where I'm actually putting ink directly on the stamp, which is our number here on my little sheet here. It's number 12, direct color to stamp. So that's where I'm actually coloring the image on the stamp and then stamping it. Image coloring is literally, you can take your markers and color the image itself. So we talked about the pointillism. I have a huge feeling I am totally botching that word. But on stamps like this one, where when you stamp it, you get the outline. You get kind of what you see on the outside here for these 3 dinosaurs. And then you fill it in with whatever coloring you want to do. The same with the birds that we were just going through. So I can then take my markers and actually color them. So that was the other thing I wanted to show you there. So we have 1 technique left, and then we will have gone through 12. The other one is taking your block and running color over it and then stamping it on your paper as a background. So let me share with you. So I'm going to take this and I am going to run this all the way across my block here. And now I think I left my little spritzer. Okay. So then what I would do is I would squirt it with some water, which I thought I had brought in here too, and I did not, but that's okay. I can't put water, just like a drip of water on it, because that won't give me the right thing either. But you put that on, and then you'd spritz it with some water from your spritzer. And then when you put it on your paper, you are going to get a block of color. Now, again, I didn't squirt it, so it didn't really bleed like I wanted it to, but it would have. And then what I can do is I can take a stamped, or take an image, a stamp, and color it. And so let me just do one here. I will use this Roar. Let me clean off the block here. Oops. And let me put this other stamp on then. All right. Let me go ahead and grab this one, just because it's got lots of words. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one in blue. Now here's another thing, by the way. When we talk about coloring, stamps and that kind of thing, I'm going to take this first word and I'm going to color it in blue. So I'm going to color it in blue ink, get it nice and inked up. I'm not always good about doing that. And then on the bottom words, I'm going to put this berry burst. So when you want to color an image with more than one color, this is the way to do it. You use your markers, You can see I have 2 different colors. Now I'm going to put those on my background color here. I do have to press it down and leave it for just a minute. And look at that. Oh, isn't that cool? So I've got a nice little background. Now I can see I've got words in blue and then the words below in another color. You know, normally we have to put a Post-it note over it, which is fine too. That totally works to kind of cover up the words I don't want. And then I ink this up and then I can stamp it with just the one word. But when you want multiple colors, this is like Stampin' Write markers. That's like the way to do it. So there we go. So we have gone through lots and lots and lots of different techniques, and these were just 2 cards with some examples that I wanted to share with you guys. So if you are on my mailing list, then you're going to get this sheet. I shared it in a couple other groups that I'm part of, so you might see it floating around. Excuse me, but just to go through them again, you got pointillism, doing the dots, text and journaling, of course, coloring a piece of ribbon. Just take your marker over that ribbon, flecking or speckling. We just flick the tip, the brush end in our cap, and that kind of flicks it, the color. Just make sure you don't have other things laying around, because it's kind of hard to tell where that flecking is going to go. Our accent lines, which are these right here. And again, we can do them sideways, we can do them long ways. And then again, if you want to kind of make them really stand out, you just use that fine tip glue. It's awesome for it. Then we had our markers and blocks for watercoloring. So you just put that ink on and then use your water painter to do watercoloring. Here's our little bird, by the way. He's all dry now. So he has no dimension or anything. So obviously we would put more marker on there and do the darker for sure, but we didn't do that. Our lines and punch, that's where we just take a piece of paper, you color it in, and then you can punch that out and punch out multiples. So it's just a great way you can make your own kind of colors, I guess, or kind of special little accent pieces. Making a border, we talked about that here, and we also did that on the back side of this piece, which I really like that technique. That might be one of my favorites now, is the border. Connecting images, which we also went through. Image coloring, we've done that, where we're just where we just take a marker and literally color in the images like we did here with these hearts. Then you got the background stamp and the sentiments. So in other words, right here, where we want to just create a background for our sentiment, we just color in that block, spritz it with water, and then you can stamp it and just give it time to dry. And then the other one is direct coloring to a stamp, which is where we did this right here, where we colored 2 different words in 2 different colors at the same time. I mean, you know, so that we could get kind of a different stamped image look. All right. Whew. So those are our 12. That is all I have today. Tomorrow I will be back on at 7 o'clock. And we are going to make the cards. I have a card class tomorrow. And we are going to make 3 of those projects on this video. So I am looking forward to that. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm typically now every week, Saturday at 7. Getting back to the Saturday at 7, but I haven't done one in a while, and we're right in the middle of celebration. There's so many things to show everyone. So we will probably, I will be back at 7 tomorrow in the group. Unfortunately, I'll get to that page, hopefully, after first quarter. Hopefully we'll have a chance that we can kind of get back up on that, on the, being able to do lives on our page. All right, you guys, thanks so much. Thanks for joining, and we will see you again tomorrow. You guys have a great Sunday. All right, and a good evening tonight. Thanks. Take care. Bye.